look at this. I thought, oh, that's an interesting product. We've tried the peat. So I've been buying again, and in this box we have some peat from the Scottish Highlands. So I seen this advertised on eBay, and I thought, you know, peat is very interesting. We had some controversial thoughts on our last video, and oh, look at this. So when I seen this on eBay, I thought, oh, that's an interesting product. We've tried the peat from Ireland, so let's try some peat from Scotland. It's quite dry, very interesting product. Look at those roots in there. It's quite light. It's actually, you know, I can just about break it, but it's quite dry inside. It feels very dry. So let's burn a little bit of this and see what kind of burn times we can get out of it. So when I came across this on eBay, I seen it was 11 kilos for £20 delivered. So I thought, oh, it's quite expensive, but hey, I'll give it a go, and it'll be make a good video for us just to have a little experiment with it. So I'd like to know everyone's thought on peat in the comments below, and let's try this out. So we're going to be testing a few things. How does it catch? How long does it last? And how does it react in the log burner? So let's chuck it in. Let's see how long this lasts. Hopefully we get some good burn times, because you know me, I'm all for the long burn times. Here's a slightly better view of the product itself before we put it in the oven. It looks very interesting. It looks like poo, fossil poo. But we're going to get in as much as we can and see how it reacts and see how long it lasts. Right, so I've got some kindling on the bottom there, which we're just going to use to get this going. And we're going to put in a few big chunky bits, I guess, and we'll see how it reacts and how it burns. So we'll start off with a nice little mound like that. When we leave that catch, oh, it's got a distinct smell already once it catches. So Scottish peat covers about 20% of Scotland. It can be used in log burners, open fires and fire pits. So 15 minutes in, we are burning away nicely at around about the 400 there on the dial. So we've got some good temperature. 30 minutes in, we're still roaring away very nicely. It's kicking out some really nice heat actually, and if you look at the temperature gauge, it's actually going up. So the peat has caught really nicely. It's pumping out some serious heat. Not bad for something that looks like a little bit like poo. So the one thing you do notice with it is the aroma that it gives off. It's it's quite a nice smell actually. So here we are about 50 minutes into this little experiment with the Scottish peat. And as you can see, it's kind of died down now and the temperature has started to fall. But I was just reading about peatlands, and it seems that to create 1 meter of peatland takes about 1,000 years. So in that case, should we really be burning it? Because at least with a tree, you can plant another tree, and in maybe 5 or 10 years, it's a fully grown adult tree. When it comes to 1,000 years though, I don't know, it's one of those, I'm not sure. Here we are 50 minutes into the test, and we still have quite a bit of fuel left in there. Oh, such a distinct smell when you open that up. Oh. So for this test, I did set it up like I always do for these tests. I leave both vents fully open while it catches, turn down the bottom vent because this is a multi-fuel stove, and leave the top vent open, and then the top vent is now around about 60-70%. But as you can see, we're almost an hour into this test, and it's still just ticking away in there ever so slightly, but the temperature is now coming down. I was reading as well that it takes around about 1,000 years to create 1 meter of peatland. So when you're looking at these peat bogs, to create 1 meter of that, it takes 1,000 years. So in that case, should we really be ripping them up and selling them in little cubes like this to sell? Because there's a lot more sustainable and eco-friendly ways to use log burners and stay warm these days. And a lot of water in Scotland is actually filtered through the peat bogs, which is quite interesting really. We're in Wales here, so a lot come through the mountains. I don't know if we have a lot of peat bogs in Wales, but in Scotland it's a vast area, and you can imagine how much water is rushing through these peat bogs, giving you, and it acts like a filter. So you have fresh water from it too. So the peat bogs are pretty important. And I think for something that's that diverse and that, not only does it support wildlife, it filters water, it takes 1,000 years to create 1 meter of peat bog. When it takes so long to produce something like that from a natural, from the Earth's point of view, should we really be ripping it up and burning it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Overall, this test showed us that from the amount that we put in, which was a little 3 or 4 pieces of peat from Scotland, we did get an hour out of that, which is as good as pretty much most woods you get, really. It's pretty good. Kicking out some heat as well, which is fantastic. You can see it's died down now. What I'm going to do with the peat that I have left, I'm going to actually dry it out a little bit further. It's around about 15-20% currently. So I'm going to dry it out even further, and then I'm going to burn it again to see if it does last a little bit longer, give a bit more heat. Because I may as well burn this now I've got it. Because even though I might be against pulling up the peat bogs, I've bought this for £20. I wouldn't stock up on it. In summary, would I stock up on peat for the winter? Personally, no, I wouldn't, mainly due to the burn times and the impact it has on the environment. I think there's a lot more sustainable and eco-friendly ways to go about it these days. You've got companies who plant more trees than they use every year, and those are the kind of companies you want to kind of support really, who actually putting back to Mother Nature as opposed to just taking out. Because with the peat bogs, if it takes 1,000 years to create 1 meter of it, then you won't be getting peat back in our lifetime. We're only around for 50 to 100 years pretty much. So we got to do what we can do to look after the planet. And I'm not an activist or an ecovist or whatever you want to call them. I'm just a guy with more common sense than your average person. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out. If it takes 1,000 years to create it, just leave it there. And that's all I got to say. So that's my thoughts on it, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you in the next one.